Welcome to the Station Wagon. I'm the older brother, Mark.
And I'm little sister Julie. This is the podcast where my brother and I give up something we take for granted and tell you how it goes.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Station Wagon. Hi, Julie. How you doing?
Hey, Mark. I'm great. How are you?
I'm really excited about this episode.
What?
Yeah, I said I'm really excited about this episode.
What? What did you say?
Oh, I see what you did there. Nice one. Good one, Julie.
That's a segue because in this episode of the Station Wagon, we're going to be giving up our good hearing.
Now, did you explain that was a segue for me or for our listeners? Who are you calling the idiot in this program?
Always you, Mark. Our listeners are intelligent, smart, beautiful people.
Likely story.
To be clear, we're going to be trying to see what it's like to live with hearing that is not working the way it should.
So you should talk about why we're going to do this, Julie.
Our veterans tend to come home from combat with a lot of hearing loss and tinnitus, or tinnitus, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Anyway, it's important and it's really common, not just in the military, but in the civilian population as well.
Thanks to Barney Saunders for the idea. And if you have suggestions of things we could give up, send them to us. We have lots of ways to contact us on our site, wagonpod.com. Just click the Contact Us tab. Julie, we've been talking for a bit. Should we get into the definition?
Oh, yes. Please define hearing loss.
Hearing loss is a partial or total inability to hear.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a huge subject. I don't want that definition just to gloss over this, how huge this is. There's many, many causes of hearing loss. There's all kinds of research about it. I mean, this is probably the biggest topic that we've ever taken on. And I just want to make it totally clear to you, Julie, I am not a doctor. And I know nothing about how the human body works.
We knew that.
Okay, good.
It's patently clear.
So when we're talking about hearing loss, there are people with hearing loss. In other words, they had good hearing and then they lost it through some kind of accident, illness, or intense sound experience.
Or aging.
There are people that age, right?
I've heard this is a thing.
Unless you watch Logan's Run.
And, of course, many people are born with hearing impairment, but that's not so much the focus for us today since we're not going to go back in utero.
You're not?
We did not get Mom's permission for that.
Okay,
I know
good point.
you've been attempting that for many a year.
Oh, my gosh. That's just... You crossed a line, Julie. So one thing that we are going to be talking about is that we will be doing unilateral hearing loss, which is...
What does that mean, Marky?
Right. So that's partial deafness in one ear. So, Julie, I have put together an awesome quiz for you this week.
Oh, okay, good. I can't wait.
It's awesome also because it has 4 questions and not just the usual crappy 3.
Yes.
I know. Ready. Number 1. What % of the world suffers from some amount of hearing
10.
loss? Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. That's the answer.
Awesome.
And the references for that are in the show notes.
Oh, my gosh. I
You're
just
a
need to
punk.
start guessing, like, really loudly and assertively, and maybe I'll get better luck.
Maybe you will. Number 2. 72% of reported occupational...
True.
No, just
Umbrella.
wait for it. Wait for it. 72% of reported occupational hearing loss occurs in what occupation? Choose the best answer. And this is according to the
Firefighters.
National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. A.
Musicians.
A. Manufacturing. B. Radio or DJ. C. Education, K through 12 specifically. And letter D. Agriculture.
Agriculture.
Manufacturing.
Ugh.
So it equates for about 1 in 9 workers with some kind of hearing loss.
Wow.
And one of the interesting things that I learned was that that number is probably very underreported because to get into the data, a person would have to come forward, report it to their employer as an occupational problem, so there's that barrier. And then the employer has to then turn around and report it.
Oof.
Right? So the kind of numbers that we're talking about are probably much higher than 1 in 9 is what they've said.
Okay.
How many bones are there in the ear? And you just have to guess on this
5.
one. 3 bones. Do you know what the names of them are?
I give up. What?
The malleus, the incus, and...
The Santa Maria.
So the hammer, the anvil, or the stirrup.
Okay.
Do those sound familiar to you?
Yeah, it does.
Which of these is helpful for people with hearing loss? Choose all that apply.
Okay.
Terrestrial pulmonates.
Wait, what? Okay.
That's letter A. Okay. And there's going to be a bunch of choices. So choose all that apply. Do you want a pencil to write these down?
No.
All right. Letter A, terrestrial pulmonates. Letter B, shouting at them. Letter C, cochlear implants. Letter D, hearing aids. E, sign language. F, all of the above. G, none of the above. Or H, pass.
All of them except shouting.
That was really close. Also, terrestrial pulmonates.
So what is that?
Snails.
Fair enough.
Gotcha.
You did. You said a big word, and I thought it was a
did.
science thing. You tricked me.
That was good. That was the quiz, and you did, as usual, pretty poorly.
Someday I'm going to ace it.
I mean, it's pretty random. I don't think there's any way you could ever ace one of these quizzes.
I don't know. It's not random because you make them, dude.
Well, yeah, but
That's the opposite of random.
Okay.
That's deliberate.
Good point.
Thank you.
Shall we move on into lovely history?
Please move on.
All right. 800 BCE, the Odyssey. What do you think happened in the Odyssey?
The sirens.
Yes, keep going. You're on the right path.
Okay, the sirens threatened the sailors that if the sailors heard the sirens' song, they would be driven mad with lust.
So what did the
and
sailors
would jump
do?
over. They used foam earplugs.
You're really close. They were the first recorded people to have used earplugs. But they were made out of beeswax, not memory foam. Just to be clear. The 17th century saw the first sort of documentation of ear trumpets. You know what those are?
Oh, like in cartoons when it looks like they've got like a gramophone stuck to their ear.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking these would look like. But actually, they're quite beautiful and more delicate than that. You can imagine that if you're going to be carrying one of these things around, if you had the money for it, you would get something that's really well engraved. And in our show notes, you'll see an example of this.
Okay, that makes sense. If you had the money to be able to afford this, you may as well have it looking fancy.
Also in the 17th century, the first book on using signs to help children was published.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
In 1760, the first school for the deaf was set up in France. There's a cute picture of him, very important.
Of him, the school?
Of him, the French priest Charles, I'm going to butcher it, Charles Michel de l'Epe.
Sounds like a name.
I didn't do well in French class. And I read The Little Prince to my kids in English. Sorry, French
Poor
teachers.
Mr. Satterley.
Oh my gosh. 1880-ish, the Volta Bureau was set up by Alexander Graham Bell. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yes.
What was he famous for?
For inventing the telephone.
That's right. But his mom was also very hard of hearing, and he spent a lot of time and money on this Volta Bureau or Volta Institute for the increase in diffusion of knowledge relating to the deaf.
Okay, so like a think tank or
it's basically
study center?
basically like a think tank, study center, research center. That's right.
Cool. Yeah, study center isn't a thing. It's just some words I said.
Okay. Thanks for that.
But it sounds kind of awesome.
1898, the Accuphone was invented by Miller Reese Hutchinson. It was the very first electric hearing aid.
Oh, cool. What year was that?
1898. And as you can imagine, it was a big clunky thing.
I was just thinking, okay, well, that name fits with that time period of let's give this the biggest, most industrial sounding name possible.
Totally. But in any steampunk novel, that name would be there and totally be working. But yeah, Miller Reese Hutchinson was also famous for inventing things that were electric and portable. So he was really one of the first people to do that. And one of his other inventions was the car horn.
Oh, that's a brilliant invention.
Yeah. 1962, the first silicone earplugs were invented.
Oh.
Before then, they were made out of some kind of clay material. Yeah, and you can still buy those in stores today. In 1967 and 1972, the foam earplugs that we know and love were developed.
Yes, that's the kind I use when I'm having trouble getting to sleep.
Right, and that's the kind that we're going to use in this episode to simulate unilateral hearing loss. And a great place, did you know, Julie, that a great place to buy these foam earplugs is from our dad?
Oh, do tell.
Yes, he owns a business called noisebustersdirect.com.
Been around since 1980.
Really? Is that before you were around?
I preceded the earplug business.
Okay, that's good.
Yes,
That's really good.
I could possibly be the reason for it.
Burn on yourself. Good self-degradation.
Don't you mean self-degradation? I think that
yes,
was the
that was a
agreed on
callback to our
pronunciation.
past episode.
That's right.
Look it up, listeners.
Yes, it is our dad's 80th birthday this year.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, Dad. As part of our love for our dad is devoting some time in this episode to him and his earplug business.
Yep, it's pretty cool.
Now we're done with that, I think.
I think we're done, too. Listeners, go buy some earplugs from our dad.
If you want.
If you want. Or you're dead to us.
If you don't love our dad, fine.
Fine. 2001, earbuds, along with the iPod, were invented and introduced. And before then, people were wearing things that kind of went sort of in your ear, but not stuck into your ear canals, like earbuds are. And so this was a big switch. Yes, before then, parents and the medical industry were really complaining that there was too much high volume sound going to young people, I'll just use that term, who were listening to music. But with the earbuds, the problem became intensified because it was a direct channel through the ear canals, literally. And also what would happen is those earbuds would maybe not have a great seal, so there would be some outside noise, and therefore the sound, people would turn up the sound even higher. These earbuds, and we still use them today, I think most people use earbuds nowadays, are really being seen as a cause for young people, like younger than 21, hearing loss that never really was seen before.
Yeah, I remember with just the over-the-ear headphones of our youth, you could tell when someone was listening to music too loud and poke them in the ribs and say, that's too loud, turn it down.
That's interesting. And
nowadays,
you can't really
tell.
Nope, you can't tell. 2005, Bluetooth was integrated with hearing aids. And this is a really big deal because until that point, and since then, a lot of devices have been manufactured that allow people with hearing aids to get the sound from the devices directly through their hearing aids instead of having to hold, say, a phone up to their head on top of the hearing aid.
I never even thought about that.
Right?
That totally makes sense.
It's really cool. And nowadays, they're even getting less expensive. They used to be very expensive. And just imagine that, you've probably seen this when there used to be payphones, they would say hearing aid compatible phone.
Right.
Does that sound familiar at all?
Yes.
And that was because there was a special coil in the phone that would somehow interact with the hearing aid to amplify the sound of the phone. But with these Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids, you don't even, if you have a Bluetooth-enabled nowadays, a smart watch or a smartphone or some other device, you don't even need to hold it up to your head. It's really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it totally makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And 2012, and this is where I'm going to stop. In 2012, the inventor of the first cochlear implants dies. And first of all...
Oh, way to end on an up note.
Well, it's an up note in that this man's name, Dr. William F. House, touched...
Dr. House?
Yes, Dr. House. So hearing aids are generally things that you can either see or are very small that fit into the ear canal, or maybe you can see a little bit on the outside of the ear, but essentially they are amplifiers for sound with a little speaker on the inside that goes into the ear canal. A cochlear implant is a device that electrically stimulates the nerves in the ear to send signals to the brain.
Okay, so it would definitely help people with different kinds of hearing loss that might not necessarily be helped by a hearing aid.
Right, exactly.
Do you want to call it cochlear implants
Is that
instead?
what it's called? Yes, I do.
All right.
This is the last thing I'm going to say.
No, that's okay. Don't go back. You it's all right. You just allow our listeners to gleefully listen to you say cochlear a whole bunch of times.
Oh, God. Okay, Julie, thanks for correcting me. Yes, it is cochlear implants. Cochlear? Am I saying it right now? Okay, cochlear implants. So the really cool thing about this man's life is, to be celebrated, is that he touched hundreds of thousands of people's lives, maybe not through his own implants, but through variations on the ideas that he brought to market. And he never sought a patent on any of his inventions and never earned any money off the patents on his inventions.
I can't even imagine that these days.
No, and he did it because he didn't want to restrict other researchers, he said.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, and it's fantastic.
So, with that concept of research and sciencey stuff, do you want to move right into science?
Me. Yay! Yes.
Okay.
Let me start with a caveat that everything we're saying is just true for some people. It doesn't apply to everybody.
Does it apply to me?
Possibly. I don't know. How is your hearing?
It's good.
Okay. Well, then no.
Oh.
Hearing loss and hearing impairment can be associated with a few symptoms that are not so great, such as isolation, depression, anxiety, and even nightmares. One study showed that individuals with hearing impairment tended to have more nightmares than others, although that could just be a side effect of anxiety because nightmares are co-occurring with anxiety.
Hearing impairment may cause stress, which may cause nightmares.
Or anxiety. Anxiety and stress are different. Anxiety is more like fears. And so, of course, it makes sense that if you have fears, you could have nightmares.
Okay. And do you think that's for people who just recently experienced some hearing loss?
I don't think so. The gist I got from that particular study is that individuals who have hearing impairment might experience more anxiety just by feeling less safe in the world.
Interesting. Okay.
Because keep in mind, we
Move
use
on. Just kidding. People are paying good money to listen to you.
Yeah, this podcast is worth every cent you're paying for it. But keep in mind, you all can go visit our show notes online at wagonpod.com and see the peer-reviewed research articles and go read them yourself. The one that to me was most striking was isolation. That makes a lot of sense. We see that for studies of children, adolescents, and adults, especially older adults. Marital relationships seem to suffer as hearing impairment increases, especially very stressed marital relationships. There's also a lot of stigma about talking about hearing impairment. Folks are resistant to tell their coworkers, which you could imagine would be pretty difficult if you have a condition that at work is going to affect you.
Right.
It'll be interesting for us to see if this really does actually affect us in the workplace, or if we just experience partial deafness in one ear, if we're able to compensate enough that, it's not a big deal.
Right. Which ear are you going to choose?
Probably my prettier ear, just because, I want to draw more attention to it with my awesome Noisebusters Direct foam yellow earplug.
Very good. What we're going to be doing is partial loss across all frequencies in one ear.
How are we going to do that?
Well, what we're going to do is wear a foam earplug in one ear.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So are you committed to doing that, Julie?
Totally. I have a huge stack of earplugs I got from Noisebusters Direct.
Yeah, Noisebusters Direct, like we mentioned in the history section.
Are you going to wear an earplug while you're sleeping?
I will. I don't know if it'll fall out, though. They tend to fall out while I'm sleeping.
Okay, I know these earplugs are reusable. Are you going to wear the same pair for 2 weeks?
No, I'm not going to wear the same pair for 2 weeks. I'm going to wear it until it doesn't have it squishy. It's, they're memory foam. So when you squish them, they poof back up and fill up your ear canal. And that usually goes away after 4 uses or so.
Oh.
So that's kind of the bar that I'm going to have. Or if it gets covered in earwax.
Ew.
Or if the cat starts playing with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Any of those 3 things.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to wear one, and I'm going to wear 2 weeks straight. I'm going to tape it to my head so it can't fall out.
God, that sounds great. I can't wait to see the pictures.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break. Actually, a 2-week break while you listen to the Pleasure Kills. And when we get back, we'll fill you in on our success.
Yeah.
That's very optimistic.
I had early childhood hearing loss from high infection and ear infections, and it caused hearing loss in the range of human speech. So it's very similar to age-related hearing loss that is very, very common among people 50 and up. Almost, more than not have that. But one of the things that it causes is withdrawal from social situations, because the more background noise is going on, the harder it is to hear somebody talking to you. So we're hearing kids now, normal stuff going on. It means that I have to super focus on somebody's voice in order to really hear what they're saying. And although I'm not a particularly introverted person. I don't want to go in very crowded situations. I'm not going to talk very much if I'm out with people. That's the biggest difference that causes. But I've had it all my life, so I don't think about it too much.
Partial deafness from a scuba dive, and then I got the complete deafness from being blown up a couple of times in Iraq. So I'm deaf in one ear, and I can hear well out of the other one. I can hear real well out of the other one, so frequently I can mask it. People can't tell that I'm deaf. So, but what really messes me up then is like direction is extremely hard, and then like every once in a while my family will mess with me, especially the daughter, and will start calling me or saying something, and I can't see her, so that I can't tell where she's calling from or what's going. And I'll just wander the house trying to find them. So even in combat, a couple of times I'd be getting shot at, and I can't tell what direction it's coming from. So I'd have to have one of my buddies grab me. It's like, sir.
Thank you, Rebecca and Carl.
So this episode is sponsored by Rumble Marketing. Rumble Marketing will help you explain even complicated products and services simply, crisply, and with compelling emotional resonance. Well, call Rumble to nail your brand voice, communicate key product messaging, or schedule an award-winning workshop to train your sales and executive teams to create more effective business communications.
You can find Rumble Marketing at rumblemarketing.com or on LinkedIn. And Rumble Marketing will tell you all about it. They understand your targeted audience segments,
good.
whether it's B2B, business to business, B2C, business to customer, or their favorite H2H, human to human.
Go see Rumble Marketing at rumblemarketing.com or on LinkedIn.
I already said that.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't recall. So, Julie, I took out my earplug.
Yes, me too.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Did you use the same one the whole 2 weeks?
No, that was pretty gross. There should be a whole, I'm sure there are, we just haven't seen it, but like whole articles about ear hygiene when using foam earplugs. They don't really warn you about how just icky it's going to feel after a little bit. Like my ear was itching a lot, just, like after 6 or 7 hours of having the foam earplug in there.
Totally, yeah.
And I was just wondering what kind of potatoes I was starting to grow in there.
I was like, Julie, your ear is not itching. You're just thinking about it, and that's making it itch.
Why would you do that to yourself? But it was itching, and it could be a problem that, like, if from itching, it could go to pussing, which could go to bleeding.
Yeah, my mind went to, oh, there's a bug stuck in there.
Oh, God. Were you thinking like Star Trek Wrath of Khan kind of stuff?
Totally.
Okay.
That was exactly where my brain went. And that's why I was like, this
God.
is just psychosomatic. It's all in your imagination.
Well, I think as a recommendation for all those foam earplug purveyors like our dad out there, by the way, the product is really good and it really limits the hearing. Don't get us wrong.
Don't judge it by our weird ear thing.
No, but there should just be some big warning for idiots who want to wear this for nonstop for 2 weeks. But, I don't really think that they expect somebody to wear it as long as we did.
No, that was pretty stupid what we did.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so how was it for you?
It was terrible.
No,
really?
What
I mean is the experiment itself was really great. I had a lot of times where I wished I could have better hearing. There were times at work when I would be sitting really close to people. And for example, one of my coworkers said the phrase, "That'll be fine," in reference to some idea that I had put out there. And I thought he said that'd be fun. And so I just went off on, "You think that'll be fun? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Fine, take that thing out of your ear." Also, my 11-year-old is sometimes a soft talker, and there were several times over the 2 weeks where she was soft talking to me, and then I would say, "You got to talk in my other ear," and she would just turn around, scowl at me, and just stomp off because she didn't want to have to redo everything she just said.
Yeah.
So maybe that was actually pretty awesome.
Well, there was one moment when you and I were both in a very loud place where I was thinking, I wish I had 2 earplugs in.
That loud place that we went to, which was kind of like a cross between a hotel, water park, and carnival, but we won't name it, in the Pacific Northwest. I got to level with you. There were a few times when I didn't wear the earplug on purpose. One was at this place that we went to that was very noisy because I wanted to be able to hear for my kids if they were calling me.
Especially since they were in water.
So I'm not sure where your head was at and wanting to distance yourself from children in a potentially dangerous area. Real smooth. Super good. So you can call me what you want, Julie, but I consider myself...
Oh, good. Doofus.
That's... God.
Snarkus.
Oh, Snarkus. I like that. It's kind of got a Roman feel to it.
Snoutus.
Marcus, Snarkus. I like these. They're kind of, I'm going to own them.
Ugh.
I know, see? Some things that I learned were that putting in an earplug in doesn't actually turn off the ear's ability to hear. I kind of had an idea, but after 2 weeks it became obvious that all it was doing was really just muffling the sounds on the outside as they arrived to my ear, but all the sounds emanating from inside my head seemed to be magnified and really annoying.
Chewing.
When I chew or talk or whatever, it's just that much louder inside my head. Which I don't think that's what people who can't hear from one ear actually experience. Let's see, the last thing I wanted to tell you was that there were times when I would be lying in bed listening to a story with my kids and I would need to rearrange myself so that, well, I have the earplug in my ear so that I wouldn't be pressing it against the pillow because that would just be really uncomfortable and hurt.
Yeah.
So I had the earplug up and my other ear pressed into the pillow, so I really couldn't hear much. And I was just really too lazy to turn over. So I just ended up falling asleep several times.
Oh, so it helped you get to sleep.
It helped me get to sleep, yes.
In someone else's bed by accident.
That's exactly right.
Oh, that's a sweet story.
Yeah, that was kind of a hassle. Really, I was finding that I was constantly asking people to say what they wanted to say again, asking people to repeat themselves, trying to get at a better posture to get my ear closer, the ear without the earplug in it, closer to whatever was being said.
Because you're kind of like an overgrown, weird giant guy.
Yeah, that's, I am not the littlest giant.
You're the smelliest giant.
Okay, fair. For me, it was...
You keep letting all my insults roll off you. I need to come up with something better, I guess.
I've been drinking Smarty juice. The big overall thing, I totally recommend this to anybody else to try it out and to see just how much it impacts your day-to-day experiences with other people and the things around you, like listening to music. Only getting mono into your head when you're really craving stereo. That sounds like first world problems, but it was a difference that I had to deal with.
It sounds like your differences fall into two areas. One is because of not being able to hear as well, and one is because you had a stupid foam... Oh, sorry, Dad. Because you had an amazing foam earplug in for 2 weeks. And so all the earplug things, I'm right there with you. I would roll over on it in the middle of the night and then be like, that kind of stuff. And just the annoying having an itchy thing in my ear.
Yeah, totally.
But one thing that I didn't have to deal with that you did is people didn't know I had an earplug in because I have long hair. And I parted it on the side and kept it covered.
What?
Except for a couple people who'd say, "Oh, what are you giving up right now?" So, yeah, that was a little different for me. So neener.
But don't you do that thing where you flirt with people and swing your hair around, so therefore exposing your ear?
Because everyone knows an earlobe is so alluring.
Right.
And at work, I'm constantly
fling.
trying to distract people with my earlobes.
Yeah.
I'll post a couple pictures after this episode drops of me with my incognito and then with my earplug showing.
Perfect.
But with regard to just not being able to hear so well, the biggest problem for me was I couldn't tell how loud I was talking.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I'm already pretty loud, and it's something I try to be a little cognizant of, but I'm not very good at it. And so with this,
oh my God, and 7-year-old girl voice really loud. Ugh, just awful. Oh my gosh.
Totally. With one of my coworkers, so I had a big conversation with him, and then afterwards I said, "Hey, can I ask you a crazy question? How loud was I talking during this conversation?" And he said, "Well, you were pretty loud, but you were just like Julie loud."
What? What does that mean?
It means that I'm always really loud, and it wasn't especially that much louder. I also noticed that I was using my hands even more than I already do, which is kind of
What do you
distracting.
think's up with that?
Well, I would specifically, if I couldn't hear what someone was saying and I wanted to, ask them again, I would kind of tilt my head to the other side and, motion to my good ear.
You motioned? That is so lame and so expected of the youngest baby child who gets everybody to do whatever they want.
Thank you.
I had the same problem you did, but I changed my position and my posture and my stance to hear better. Rude.
So the other thing is I couldn't tell where noises were coming from.
Like that time you were tripping at the Grateful Dead?
Mom is going to believe you, dude.
Okay. I'm just kidding, Mom. It was Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Okay, back to me.
Okay, back to you.
I couldn't tell where noises were coming from, and it was a safety issue. Just like Carl said in the interview of where when he was in combat, he couldn't tell where bullets were coming from.
Oh, man.
When I was in Costco,
Wait. Now, just hold on. Listeners, sensitive listeners, I just want to say that there is a trigger moment right here for anybody who gets into PTSD when thinking about Costco, myself included. Go ahead,
Yes.
Julie.
At one point...
Oh, and also rude that you're comparing, like, battle to going to Costco. I know Costco sucks and it's awful to go there because you have to deal with humanity, but really, Julie?
Samples were out.
Okay, fair.
Okay,
Fair.
thank you.
Yep.
So I needed to like go in reverse and like back it up at one point. And I felt like I needed mirrors on every side to see where everybody was. And I had like one of my kids with me and I was like, okay, just stay close. We're going to manage this.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, because I just couldn't tell. And I heard a cart and I didn't know if it was behind me or whatever.
Wow,
But,
so like your stereo connection to the world messed with
Exactly.
things, right? So did you find that your sense of smell picked up where your hearing left off?
No, none of my my sense of anxiety picked up. The only really hard thing during this 2 weeks was my daughter kept trying to take my earplug out.
Ew. Did you tell her what a biohazard that was?
No.
Does she understand biohazard? Does Uncle Mark have to tell her?
They take everything you say very seriously.
I'm going
so
to call them. Yeah.
I have an interview with her. I started
cool.
my app going while she was just like chasing. I mean, the entire 2 weeks.
A second your earplug out.
Why?
Because I like it, and you're silly.
Because I'm silly, you're going to take my earplug out?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a very good excuse.
I know, right?
Finally, towards the last part of the week, I kept saying, you can't take it out. Uncle Mark will be mad.
No! Oh, Julie.
I also recommend that people do this because it really gave me more compassion for, like I said before, all my coworkers and friends who've come back from Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom with hearing loss, but also just all the other people we know who have hearing loss who aren't combat vets. It's really common, and this is something tons of people are dealing with, and I never realized just what a constant issue it was, especially in social situations.
Right. Hearing loss sucks. Don't do it.
Use protection. Wear an earplug. Or two. Yeah, preferably two.
In each ear? 2 in each ear? And you can also fit them up your nose.
But don't do that. My daughter did that too.
Oh, really? What happened? Did you have to squeeze her like one of those toys from Spencer's when you squeeze it, its eyes bulge out? Listeners, you know what I'm talking about.
I did like the mom flipping out.
What does that sound like
yelling.
exactly?
Get that out of your nose right now!
I would think she would go and inhale really big and swallow them. Or possibly get them caught in a sinus like a raisin could potentially. So, Julie, we've got an idea for our next podcast from Noah Kin.
Oh, he always comes up with very interesting
What
ideas.
a creative guy. What a creative
Yes.
dude he
What
is.
does he want us to do?
He wants us to not use a toilet anymore and instead wear diapers. Adult diapers. Like astronauts wear, I suppose. And I am not down with this. I think we might have to respond back to Noah Kin and say no.
Okay, I can think of one condition in which I would do this. No, 2 conditions. One condition is that
You're
we
killing me.
are on a space flight.
Oh, okay. Fair. So NASA,
Yeah, NASA. If NASA wants to sponsor us,
okay,
for
we
an
will wear
episode,
diapers. Yes.
I would totally wear a diaper, especially if Neil deGrasse Tyson came with us.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
Okay. The other condition is, what if we did a live show and it was just like we just did this
No.
for one day?
No, I am
Not
not
2 weeks.
pooping in front of a live audience.
No, dude,
What?
I didn't
That's
say
where are you going with that,
no.
Julie?
I'm just saying that if we were doing a live show, we would not poop in front of an audience. We would just review our experience from just one day's giving up something kind of extreme instead of a 2-week thing. And we would wear the diapers all that day. And
No, here's what I'm going to write a nice email back to Noah saying, dear fascist bully boy, you can wear a diaper on your head.
I'll appreciate that. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
He might have a rejoinder for you. I can't promise.
All right, that's fine. I can deal.
Okay, let's move on.
So, dearest listeners, if you've enjoyed this show and you want to tell others about it, please go to wagonpod.com where they can listen. You can view show notes and subscribe to the podcast.
That's right. You can connect with us on Facebook. We're at the Station Wagon Podcast, and Twitter at WagonPod.
That's right. And we actually do talk back to our listeners on Facebook and Twitter all the time.
And not like talk back like, oh yeah, your mama.
Also, give us iTunes reviews like Willow Cloud. Is that real?
Yes. Don't knock Willow Cloud. She wrote something so nice. She said, the sarcasm episode was awesome, insightful, and entertaining. Now I know that it's normal not to always catch my partner's sarcastic jokes. Can't wait to listen to more.
That was really cool, Willow Cloud, if that is your real name. So-called Willow Cloud.
You can email us your suggestions at wagonpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just say nice things. We've been getting a lot of really nice email lately, and it's super fun, and we always write back.
Now, is it encouraging when I make fun of them like this, Julie? I mean, will Willow Cloud be offended?
We'll find out.
Okay, great.
If no one else ever gives us iTunes reviews, then we'll know.
Yay, good.
Really,
it's
please.
like real-time experimentation. Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, no, but seriously, the iTunes reviews are really helpful. They help us get new listeners.
Yay.
Thank you to the Pleasure Kills for the use of the song
Thanks, Pleasure Kills.
Modern Problems. Thank you to Noisebusters Direct for all the earplugs, and to Rumble Marketing for paying the bills. Thank you so much, Rumble Marketing.
And to our wonderful spouses and children for putting up with us.
Yes, and for not pulling out our earplugs constantly.
And contributing to the betterment of our podcast.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and we need that because I'm the middle child trying to overcome a lot, and you were a mistake.
No.
What do you think that 7 years difference is all about?
Next time on the Station Wagon.
Next time on the Station Wagon, we'll be giving up apologizing.
I'm sorry about this one in advance.
Good one.
I want to warn you in advance, I will probably laugh at you.